Now, these last two here are related, and they have to do with the surveillance bill and a Monsanto GMO labeling bill. And the reason that I say they're related, because those topics don't really sound related, is because we just made it past another government shutdown. Did you guys hear this one? Did you guys check this one out? They were saying the government was going to shut down. You might not have noticed. Yeah, I know. It's kind of not frightening at all. Almost like they want you to be in a state of paranoia. This is what I wonder is like, do they not see? I mean, the government they know they have a deadline, right? By the end of the year, we must pass a budget, right? That's going to allow us to move into the next year. So how come the last 2 weeks of the year, they start like, oh, God, here it comes. Here's the deadline we've known about the whole year. And we're just going to start worrying about it now and drum up a bunch of panic and get everybody all worried. You know, it's like they didn't see it coming or something. You guys have the same budget every year. And, you know, it's just fear, guys. We just got to recognize that and just kind of laugh at it, right? So they get everybody all worried about government's going to shut down. And, you know, definitely there are some people who have jobs that are dependent on these government checks and, you know, people who could be hurt by this. And that's unfortunate. But overall, if the federal government ended, would it really hurt our lives? No, it would probably make them much better. And so they have this government shutdown. They build you up in fear, telling you that if this doesn't pass, the government's going to shut down. And somehow that's bad for you, so you should be afraid of that. And if you don't want the bad things to happen and for the sky to fall and the world to go to shit when the government shuts down, then we must pass this budget bill. And you have to support it no matter what's in it because we know we have to do this. Otherwise, the government's going to shut down, right? Yeah, and well, in the end, we may decide to sneak on a couple of things on there because that's what we got to do. But it's for the best, right? That's how things go. We have to think of the collective, think of the whole, right? And so what are these issues that they don't want you paying attention to? There's a bunch of them, and I can only really go over a couple. So the couple that we're going to focus on are going to be surveillance and as I said, the Monsanto GMO rider thing. And unfortunately, one of them did get through, and that is the surveillance bill. Okay, that's what we're dealing with here. The surveillance bill masked as a cybersecurity bill is what I called it. Now I'm trying to pull up the latest article. Sorry, guys. Let me see. I wrote one a couple days, and if you've been paying attention to my work, honestly, you were aware of this before everybody else was because I told everyone last week with these two articles, December 10th, and the bill passed, December 16th. So I told you almost a full week ahead. They're trying to sneak in CISA, the Cyber Security Information Sharing Act, which is the distant cousin of CISPA and SOPA, bills that they tried to pass back in 2012. This is one of the other things Obama wanted to do. He's been saying for quite some time, I want to pass a cybersecurity bill. They've been, drumming up, we're going to have a cyber 9/11 if we don't do something, yada, 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 right? And, of course, these cybersecurity attacks, these cyber threats are often manufactured and if not, just unable to prove that the government's saying what the government's saying is accurate, but they are also, the bills themselves aren't going to stop any kind of hacks. They're actually going to increase surveillance. Recently they said the NSA stopped spying on you, right? Yeah, well, in case you bought that, guess what? They're starting again with this new bill. Not that they ever stopped, I'm just saying. But CISA, Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act, was originally designed to allow private companies to easily share threat intelligence with government agencies. This intelligence sharing is supposed to be voluntary, but critics say the provisions will only increase the indiscriminate monitoring of legal activity by giving companies immunity from lawsuits for sharing information with the government. So that means you couldn't sue them once you find out that they were giving away your information to the government, even though you're not a terrorist. Senator Rand Paul said that this is going to transform websites into government spies. And it had passed, certain versions of it had passed the Senate, one version had passed the House, and they were trying to rectify it and get into a final version, right? And just last week, a coalition of 19 civil liberties groups sent a letter to President Obama and congressional leaders calling for stricter privacy protections and warning that these protections have been stripped from the bill. So there's all this fight going on about CISA. It doesn't really stand a chance on its own, even though it had passed in some form. It wasn't going to pass and get everything that the Obama administration wants, which is more security, surveillance legislation. And instead, they had to sneak it on to the government shutdown bill. And that's what they did. And Justin Amash and Congressman Thomas Massey said that the spending bill was unconstitutional because it had surveillance measures included in there. They call it the worst anti-privacy vote in Congress since the Patriot Act. And Thomas Massie adding it was completely unrelated legislation to expand warrantless domestic cyber surveillance. The last-minute addition of the Cybersecurity Act of 2015 to a massive congressional spending bill has drawn criticism from representatives who call the provisions unconstitutional. In a statement to Truth and Media on Thursday, Justin Amash said he does not support the bill and sees it as possibly the worst anti-privacy vote since the Patriot Act. A vote for the omnibus vote is to support unconstitutional surveillance on all Americans. It's probably the worst anti-privacy vote since the Patriot Act. And Thomas Massie released a statement on his Facebook page on Wednesday saying, "We learned last night that in addition to unsustainable spending, the giant omnibus includes completely unrelated legislation to expand warrantless domestic cyber surveillance and to repeal country of origin labeling for meat sold in the U.S. I will be voting no on Thursday." The Cybersecurity Act of 2015 brings together provisions from other bills that have been passed in either the House or the Senate, including CISPA and CISA, as I just mentioned. So, yeah, there you go. Cybersecurity/surveillance bill, worst anti-privacy bill since the Patriot Act. That's passed. That is now law.